Hello, welcome to the first episode in the series on drawing this Cowan Sheldon 30t crane on my channel 3D Drawing P-Model Railways. In today's lesson, what we're going to be looking to do is to set up Fusion ready to have all the parts that we're going to need for the crane. We're going to import the scale plans that I've got, and we're also going to set up the various component files because this crane's going to be built in multiple different parts, so we're not going to have them all in the same folder. We're going to create lots of folders for each of the components. So that's what we're going to be doing today, setting all that up. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Okay, so if we jump into Fusion here, what we're going to do is set this all up now for this big project. So first thing we'll do is we'll save this as a new project. Cowan Sheldon 30t crane. Okay. Find file here. That's it. Okay, so we'll save that in there. So that's saved now. That's the first thing we're going to do. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create components for each of the parts that we're going to use. So this is going to be the overall top of the tree, and then each part will have its own separate folder, so that when we go to edit it, we're not going to look at 500 different sketches and extrusions, pipes. We're just going to be looking for, if we need to make an amendment to the crane body, we'll go into a folder that's a crane body only, and that'll hold all the sketches and components within there. Makes it much easier to then keep things nice and clean. So it's a bit different to what we've done before. Before, we've only ever used this top part because everything we've done really so far has been pretty straightforward. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new component. It's going to be a standard component. Okay, internal component name, we're going to call it crane body. And the parent is already selected as the top one here. Okay, and that will automatically put crane body in here. Okay, so we'll do the same again, new component, and we'll call this one crane chassis. Oh no, undo that, that's gone into the wrong folder. So we'll go back. So what it's done is, because this is highlighted here with a bullet point, it created the component within that body, which is not what we want. We want to go back to the top here, select that top one, do that again, new component, crane chassis. Okay, parent selected. Good. Okay, go back to top, new component. Okay, now we're going to want a pivot. Crane jib. Oh, undo that. Again. New component. Jib. Top. And then run. Okay, so let's just close these down. So we've got the body, chassis, the pivot point, the jib, and the runner. So that's all the parts that we're going to need initially, that we're going to work from. Okay, so now we've got these components set up here. What we've got to be careful of when we're creating things is that we've got the correct components selected. Because if we start to, let's say we're drawing the crane body and we've got it in the runner folder, it will put everything in that runner folder. So when you start to then look for things, you end up getting lost, not understanding where things are. So we've got to make sure that we've got these all selected in the correct positions. Okay. So I'm selecting the top one now, because I'm going to put the sketches, sorry, the scale plans into this top folder. So if we're going to insert canvas, I'm going to insert it from my computer. Scale plans. Okay. Now I've got 4 scale plans. I'm just going to jump out of Fusion to show you what I've got, and then I can show you why I'm selecting the ones that I'm selecting. Okay, so I've got 4 scale plans. This one here is of the same crane but the steamed version. I've then got the top view of the steam version, the diesel version, and the other side of the diesel version with the runner on the plan here. So we'll go back to the first one. Back out. Okay, so initially I'm going to import this as my first sketch, even though we're doing the diesel one. But the reason I'm going to want this one is obviously it's got the chassis here, and the chassis is pretty much the same between all of them, and it's got the full length of the jib on it and the full length of the runner. So this one, although it's for the steam one, I'm going to use this for the chassis, the runner and the jib. This one here is going to be pretty self-explanatory. It's the only top-down view that I've got and the only views end on. Now you can see on these plans here that they've actually split the plan into 2. So on the top here, this left-hand side is the steam version, and the right-hand side is the diesel mechanical version. The chassis is pretty much the same on all of them. One thing to note here is on the rear of the chassis, it's tapered in slightly. And the reason they've done this was for clearances for the Tunbridge to Hastings line, because it's got narrow clearances going through a couple of tunnels when these were built. So that gives them that little extra bit of room that they're required to be able to use these for that route. Again, this plan is split into 2. They're pretty much the same on both of them. The only thing to note here is on the runner, it says the water tank was omitted from obviously the diesel mechanical versions because they didn't need a water tank. And then on the bottom ones here, same again, they've split into 2. Steam version on the left, diesel mechanical on the right. Looking end on, so you're going to have the diesel mechanical version on the left here and the steam on the right. That's the steam version. This is the diesel version looking front on, and then the end on of the match wagon. This is the scale plan, the diesel version. Now, obviously, we're going to be looking primarily here at the body. The chassis is the same, so I'm not overly concerned about importing that for the chassis, but it will be the body that I'm looking for. And on this side, we've got the other side version of the body. Again, the chassis will be working from the original plan. Okay, so back into Fusion, we're going to insert that scale plan. So what we're going to be looking for initially, we're going to start with the steam version with the chassis on it. So we'll import that in. We're going to place it on the side plane here. Now you can see here, obviously it's the long way around for what I require, so I'm just going to flip that over. Okay, so we've now got it the correct way, side on. One thing that's good to note here is we've got a scale ruler here, so obviously everything's to scale. We can then just calibrate our plan to this. So if we open up the canvas, go into calibrate, it's going to be pretty straightforward. 2mm to the foot. So drag from 0 point, and I'm going to go to 10 just because it's nice and easy. That's going to be 20mm. Okay, obviously I'm looking at 2mm to 2mm to the foot, which is near or damn it British N scale 1 to 148. I think if you were to measure it out at 1 to 148, it works out at 20.4mm, and I'm not going to worry too much about the 0.4. So I'm just going to go 2mm to the foot to make it nice and easy here. Okay, so that's the first sketch imported in. Okay, so to make sure that we can import the other scale plans in and have them all line up where I want them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to initially create a body within this top component, and it's just going to be of just the chassis. Not overly concerned about putting it in the correct folder, because I'm going to delete this body in a minute. All I'm doing is creating it in roughly the right place. I'm not defining it because I'm not worried I'm going to delete it. I'm going to extrude it and turn it around. Now, looking at the scale plans, I believe the width of the chassis here should be 16mm. Obviously, as we import the scale plans, we can confirm that because the scale plans are to scale, so we'll be able to work that out correctly. So next I'm going to do is I'm going to put an offset construction plane on the end of the chassis here, and then I'm going to import the next canvas. I'm going to place it onto that construction plane. So I'm going to be looking for this end-on view. I'm going to place it on this plane here. Okay, so we can zoom in. The text is the correct way round. Okay, so we can click on OK on that. Okay, so if we turn off the construction plane that we just got, because that's getting in the way of the view, and we're going to turn off the original scale plan that was on the side here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is calibrate this. So if we just hide this initial body because we don't need to see it, and then we can edit, calibrate, do the same as the last one. Let's turn that on so we're end on. Select the 0 point and the 10 and tell it that's 20mm. Okay, now if we turn this body back on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the chassis to this face here. Okay, so if we come back in here, edit canvas, and we can start to drag it around. Okay, what I'm looking for is this end one, because that's going to be the rear view. And you can see that it needs to be a little bit wider. But if we get that corner zoomed in as close as we can, there you go. So that's pretty much right on the corner there. Obviously you can see we need to amend the width here because that doesn't match up as it should do. But that's in the correct position on that plane there. So I'm happy that that sketch is there. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is we're going to put the next sketch on this one. So we do construction plane off of that face. And we're going to insert canvas. So the one we're looking for now is the diesel mechanical one, that's the view from this side on. So if we select that one, zoom in here, so you can see it's the correct way around, so happy with that. And if we hide the body and we'll hide that sketch plane, we now need to calibrate this, which is going to be a bit of a pain because there's no scale ruler on here, as you can see. Turn that face on. No scale ruler on here. So what we can do is start looking at some of the other measurements we've got here. So we've got 7'3" and we've got 41.1. That's not going the full width, so I'm not going to use that. I've got 22 foot 6 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to go and do a quick maths. So that's going to be 44 plus 1, so 45mm from that point there to that point there. Okay. So hide that one, it's not using it, and we'll calibrate that point to that point and tell it to be 45mm. If we zoom back out, okay, we'll find that body back on, and then we're going to move this so that it's in the correct position. So we're going to look to have this corner matching up with that corner there. So edit the canvas, and it needs to move sideways a little bit. Needs a tiny little bit rotation. So we're going to go 0.1 millimeters. See how that's going the wrong way. So minus 0.1. It's a bit more. So let's try 0.3. How's that looking? Maybe 0.4. Yeah, that's looking okay. So I'm happy with that. Okay, so that's 3 that we've got in there now. Okay, so the last sketch we're going to drag in is going to be the top-down view version. So if we turn that one off and we insert the canvas, so we're looking for this top-down view, and we're going to place it on the top here. Actually, cancel that, cancel, cancel, cancel. What we didn't do is create the offset plane from there. The reason I'm using the offset plane is if I then need to move it, I can drag the offset plane up and the canvas will move with it. So happy with that position there. Insert the canvas. Choose that one. And we're on that offset plane. So that's the wrong way around, so we need to rotate it 90 degrees. Okay, let's just turn on these sketches to make sure we've got this the same way round. Everything needs to go there. So we'll turn that offset plane off, spin that round so we're looking at the right direction, and we're going to calibrate this again. Calibrate. Okay, and then we're going to try and line this up over the top of here. Let's just make sure that we're doing the right corner. So if I turn this plane on, yeah. So edit that canvas, and then we'll drag that into position. So I'm actually not going to go for these corners because, as you can see, they're tapered in. I'm going to try and line up with these corners here. Probably needs the tiniest rotation that direction. So if we do minus 0.1, no, let's try 0.3. Yeah, that looks straight. Okay, so now what we've got is 4 canvases in here in each direction. So we've got, let's turn them off so you can actually see what we've got. So we've got the right hand side of the crane, the rear of the crane, the left canvas, and last but not least, the top canvas. Okay, so we've now got those. When we go to do other things like the jib, we may import more canvases, put them purely within the jib folder. The same with the body. I may import the canvas here. It depends on how the drawing looks. Because obviously there's a bit of curve here, I may need to import that into the body. So that's all the canvases set up. We've got our components set up so that we're now ready to start work on drawing the crane. Before we get started though, what I am going to do is I'm going to delete that extrusion. Let's undo that. We're going to keep that. We're going to hide it, but we're going to also rename it. If we remove it, delete it, it loses all the profile offsets. We'll hide it and we're going to tell it to be removed so that now all these positions are kept. So these are all still in the same place, but without the body being there. Okay. Obviously, as you can see, I'm trying to do as minimal jump cuts as possible. You are going to see errors, you're going to see warts on all while I'm drawing this, and hopefully that'll give you a good idea about how we're going to go about it, and errors you may or may not come up with, and fixes that will be needed as we go along. Hope you've enjoyed today's lesson. If you have and you want to follow more on the project as we go along, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to get notifications as soon as the videos go up. Please leave a like and comment because it really does help to have some nice feedback. Thanks for watching.